Howdy, howdy. My name is Tyler Davis. Welcome to Legal Roundup. Today we're going to be discussing some misconceptions about personal injury. Today I'm joined by Sean Chun and Daryl Porter. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Always good to be here.
So, my first question is what's one of the biggest misconceptions you encounter about personal injury?
Everyone thinks when they're involved in an accident that their case is worth $1 million. That's probably one of the biggest misconceptions uh, um, that I've come across or that's come across my desk.
Yeah.
Every client thinks they have $1 million case.
Another one I would say is a misconception that people just think how quickly it'll get done. Some people call in about an accident and they think they'll have the money in their pocket within a week or so, not realizing how that this process can take longer than just a week.
Right.
That was kind of what my next question is. Why people think how many cases do you have that where people are like, all right, well, I got a lawyer, so it should be over in like 2 seconds, right?
So I can tell you this: the cases. I'll tell you this: it is possible for a case to be wrapped up in a very short period of time. However, I think the catch to that is if a case is being wrapped up that quick, that means there's minimum money and there's catastrophic injuries or death.
And that's the only time it's pretty quick, cut and dry. Is
When
when
it's
it's
when it,
fairly obvious.
yeah, when it's fairly obvious and there's uh, not a lot of money to get from a policy, and there's been catastrophic injuries or death, then the case can be wrapped up pretty quickly. And so, you gotta be careful what you ask for because, you might you might get into a car accident and we can have it wrapped up in a month's time, but you also may have lost a leg, and the person who caused you to lose your leg uh, may only have $25,000, and so you think about how much your leg is worth to you.
Priceless.
You're right, and so uh,
Sorry to put a number on that.
that's right. Quicker does not always mean better. Um, and so you got to be careful about that. Even if you got a bigger case that takes more time, just because an attorney tells you they can get that thing, and I'd venture to say there should be no attorney telling anybody how fast they can get a case turned around. Not realistically, not a good attorney, because there are a lot of different factors and things that come into play um, that we have to sit, look, do research,
That's right.
and investigate to make sure that you know that case gets the attention that it needs. I always tell clients, I'm invested, literally invested in making sure that their case moves quickly, but I also want to make sure that it's done right as well. No stone unturned, all my I's dotted, all my T's crossed. And so, but again, I don't get paid till they get paid. We don't get paid until they get paid. So we have an interest in making sure their case moves quickly. We also have a vested interest in making sure that it's done right, because we want to get the full value of that case, and the only way for us to do that is to do our job. And sometimes, most times, oftentimes, that take
That's
that
the word,
take
often.
that takes time.
I guess, but why do people think that? I guess a lot of people assume that like any case is like a personal injury case is easy money no matter what. But I would beg to differ that there's probably some cases out there that take that aren't easy money and that y'all end up having to go to trial for. Maybe they don't want to settle. And I know that a lot of times an insurance adjuster will absolutely berate a client, and sometimes I'm sure that you guys get into matches with insurance companies all the time.
Sure, you want to go?
It's shoot, that's a good question. Could you rephrase it, I guess, a little? Like, what do you?
I'll jump in.
Okay, go for
A
it.
reason I was gonna let Sean answer because I have absolutely 100% gotten into a shouting match with an adjuster. We've exchanged some really colorful language with each other. I can become, I don't want to say cocky or arrogant when it comes to an adjuster, but I will tell you this: I'm about to sound like Liam Nielsen from Taken, but I have a unique set of skills that an adjuster just doesn't have. Unless that adjuster has Esquire behind his or her name, yeah, you're not going to litigate a case with me over the phone, and I will 100% tell you that you're not going to litigate this case with me over the phone because you're not an attorney, and until you get an Esquire behind your name, I have no problem putting an insurance adjuster in their place, and filing a lawsuit and getting an attorney on the phone. Um, Now, that's just the way I feel about it. We have adjusters all the time that try to litigate cases over the phone. Well, you're an adjuster. You're an insurance adjuster, and I will. The moment I realize they're trying to litigate this case over the phone, I will ask them, "Oh, what law school did you attend? Where you have your license to practice?" And if the answer to that is I didn't and I don't, oh, okay, well, there's no point in me wasting my time or my client's time talking to you. I'll be filing a lawsuit so I can get somebody who actually has some type of legal background to talk about this case.
Well, see, right there, I mean, that just shows you that it is not always easy to get, some people. I guess my question really is a lot of people think that it's easy. They get into a little fender bender and they're like, oh, they see dollar signs, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that happens probably more often than not, as far as like people misconceiving that every case is the same or similar, and that it could be happen. They could get that money as expediently as possible, and that it's just easy because once they get a lawyer, I feel like certain lines get kind of blurred. But in a situation where an insurance company is wanting to fight it, and then y'all have to go to trial, at that point it's not easy money.
No, and I think a lot of that is two things. So first of all, it is my belief once you are involved in a car accident, you should absolutely get an attorney. Preferably, Sean and I, you should call Pepper and Odom, 601-202-1111.
No shameful plugs.
That's no shameful plugs, and so you should absolutely give us a call. But it's my opinion, what plays a part in people thinking it's easy money and they see dollar signs is some of the advertising that they see. They see commercials where there are fender benders, and then they see 4 commas flash across the screen. It's not realistic. That's not reality. Because if you get hit by somebody that only has $25,000, well, that's all you're gonna get is $25,000. You're not gonna get the one comma 000 comma 000 comma 000 comma and so on and so forth. It's not like that's $25,000.
Yeah.
And so in every case is different. Well, I told you 2 things: the advertising, and go back. The second one is listening to people who may have been involved in an accident, but the facts of their case are vastly different. I've had several clients tell me on occasion, well, my cousins, they got into a wreck and they got this much money. Well, you can't compare your case to their case. I don't know what their injuries were. Maybe they lost a leg, and you got whereas you got a scratch on the top of your hand. And so every case is different. Every case is valued different, and so I'm quick to tell people that, hey, your case is going to be different than their case, or hey, you should probably listen to the person that went 3 years through to get their Juris Doctorate, and who took time to study dedicated 3 months of their life to study for a bar exam to be able to practice. So I think my credentials would say I probably know what I'm talking about versus somebody who was involved in the accident and does not know what they're talking about.
You see, that's why we always got to put disclaimers at the end of it on all the advertisements. A lot of people will see that and they automatically assume all the time, oh, well, my case is going to be the same amount, maybe more.
Yeah.
My cousin told me this, that.
Yeah.
And then they come to you, they're like, well, what was your cousin's wreck like? Oh, well, they got hit by an 18-wheeler and they lost an arm. Oh, okay, well, what was your wreck like? Well, somebody hit me in the rear end and, I got a scratch on my neck from the seat belt. So you think that's going to be about the same, right? And when you tell them, well, I mean, I can't really tell you what it is, but that's why we've got to put a disclaimer at the end.
That's right. And let's use that same example that you just used. Well, my cousin got hit by an 18-wheeler and they lost an arm. Well, and let's say they got hit by an 18-wheeler too, but they got a scratch from the seatbelt. Well, another misconception is people think when they get hit by a commercial vehicle that they're about to be millionaires. Yep. That's just not the case. It depends on the damages that was caused. And so people see 18-wheelers, and they see dollar signs too, and it's just reality. That's just not the case.
That's so funny. That kind of moves me into my next question, which is more or less about big accidents. Because a lot of people think that, okay, well, let's say that the accident is relatively small. Maybe it's not a commercial accident. Maybe it is just a fender bender, but maybe they had whiplash so bad that it gave them like TBI or something like traumatic brain injury, or maybe they slammed into the steering wheel, or maybe they drive an older car that doesn't have airbags, which in Mississippi you don't have to have a vehicle inspection anymore.
Right.
So in the state where you don't have to have an inspection, you smash your head on the steering wheel. Well, there might be a similar wreck that might be the same, but they didn't get an injury. But like you said, if the injuries or the damages are not severe, then odds are that their case would be, I wouldn't say insignificant, but they wouldn't be getting what you would say, what a settlement as big as maybe somebody who was injured, but not to that extent. Or if maybe they were hit in the end and they weren't in they were in a newer car, which is much more safer on the road, an older car is going to crumble, which somebody might argue me.
Actually, might be reverse, yeah.
Whatever
you about to say, somebody will argue. Yeah, I may argue with you that newer cars will probably crumble, whereas the older ones, newer cars are safer, in a sense that they got more protection, airbags, airbags for your legs, all that side airbags and all that stuff. But anyway, that's another topic for another day.
We could get into the details of maybe that's one we should do is safety on
safety of vehicles,
or maybe the efficiency of safety mechanics in vehicles compared and how that works in the wrecks, because I feel like like on an old Chevy Bel Air, if you get hit in a 50s Bel Air, that's tube framing. It just collapses. Yeah. And a lot of people think, well, it's steel. Well, it doesn't matter if it's structurally unsound, and that's why a lot of people in older cars, and they get into wrecks, I've noticed they actually take on a lot more damage than what people would assume. And somebody in like the Kia Sportage right next to them, they get hit, and they might lose the back end of the car, but their life was saved.
Yep.
It's pretty incredible.
Yep.
But I guess my question is do people think that only big accidents matter in the case? Would you agree?
I would disagree. Now, while the amount that you end up with at the end will be smaller, you still have rights when it comes to an injury. And just because your injuries aren't significant doesn't mean you don't have a claim. And we've talked on this podcast before that even if you have lesser injuries, you should still go get that checked out. You don't know how bad or how severe they could be. And that's damages right there. That goes to your claim. So even though your claim may have a lesser value than if you lose an arm in an 18-wheeler wreck, you do still have a claim, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with Sean wholeheartedly. Is there's no insignificant case. If you've been involved in a car accident due to no fault of your own, I sound like a commercial. But if you've been involved in a car accident due to no fault of your own, and you've sustained damages, and I don't care. I mean, we see a lot of sprain, strain, or what we call soft tissue damages. We see a lot of those. We represent a lot of people that have little fender benders or parking lot accidents, and we represent those people. We represent those people just as good as we represent the person that's been involved, that's been hit by an 18-wheeler, or whose vehicle's been caused to flip 10 times because due to somebody else's negligence. And so the way we treat all of our cases the same, and they all get our undivided attention, and they get the absolute best work from us as attorneys. We don't care if it's the $25,000 case or if it's the $25 million case. Now, the way in which we work those cases will be different because there are different things involved. There are different, somebody who has soft tissue damages. Well, their treatment is only going to be, is going to be minimum. Whereas someone who's lost we keep using this loss of limb thing. I guess I started there, but somebody who's lost a leg, now they have to be able to, it's a lot of different things that go into play there. Now they have to learn they have to adapt to having one leg and living their life with one leg. Let's say they were working on a job that required them, let's say they're working offshore. A job requires them to have two legs. And now they've lost their leg as a result of somebody else's negligence. Well, now we got to account for what their earning capacity what they would have been making if they'd had two legs and still been able to go back to work. And so, again, we give every case the same amount of attention to the same amount of attention to detail. We work it to our absolute best, give it the same amount of attention. The way in which we actually work it will vary depending on the facts, the damages, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of goes back to expedience too, I think, which a lot of people, I feel like, get misconstrued a lot is, why they think it some cases might take lesser than others, or that it should be expediently quick once they get a lawyer. But the thing is many people think that on the other end, there's people that think that every case goes to court. How often do cases actually see a trial?
Oh, very little. They used to tell us in law school it was less than maybe 3% or 5%. It's a very small amount.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I thought that maybe, I guess it depends, right, on the severity, or what is it? What usually determines why you take it to court? I guess.
Typically, you can't agree on an amount.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
Some you could be arguing that we say they're at fault, they say we're at fault, and that could take it to trial. But once again, that still kind of goes to the amount of, they'll say, well, we're giving you nothing because we think you're at fault.
Yeah. It's only two things that get argued in a personal injury case. Who's at fault and the damages. Are you as hurt as you say you're hurt? And so, either, classic case, he said, she said, who ran the red light? Classic. We'll see that. And even then, in those cases, pending some independent witness that comes out of nowhere that says, your client, I saw them do it. I saw it with my own eyes. They did it. You'll find yourself sitting in a courtroom having 12 people to decide who they believe, who actually ran the red light. And the damages, again, you know, whereas I may think a loss of a limb is worth $100 million, insurance companies tend to think way different than me. They may think, well, it's only worth $500, 500,000. Let me not do them that bad. Some insurance companies may think $500, but you know, a loss of a leg, $500,000. You know, and so then you need the finder of fact, is what we call them in our world, which is either going to be a judge or a jury, to decide, well, how much is the loss of that leg worth? And then we try the case. But to Sean's point, to back up what Sean is also saying as it relates to how many cases actually go to trial, very little. Most of the cases settle out. And honestly, I think I can say for us in this office, you know, we don't mind trying cases. Like we have zero problem trying a case. You know, but we also understand that most insurance companies don't want to do that, particularly when they realize their insured is clearly at fault, and two, that they got realistic damages. And so before they throw the dice to go and let 12 people decide, which again cost them money to litigate the case and take it to trial, they run the risk of paying whatever the jury awards plus whatever they have to pay those attorneys to defend that case. And so they weigh they're all about their numbers. They're all about saving money. And so a lot of times before they start spending all that money, they think, well, we may be better off just reaching a settlement agreement before we go to trial and have to spend all this money for the attorneys plus whatever the jury may award them. In our case, the jury's going to award us something.
When y'all are in that kind of situation and you have to, let's say you do have to go to court and you have to prove negligence.
Let me finish that statement.
Yeah.
I thought in our case, the jury's going to award us something because we're good at our jobs.
That's right.
Go ahead. That's all right. I had to do that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I sat through a case where a defense attorney was trying to have, they were trying to have the case dismissed or have a mistrial done based off of the comments an attorney made on on some marketing that they were doing on a commercial or a radio show or something like that. They were trying to have the case dismissed or have a mistrial declared based off of comments that an attorney had made. And so I want to be very clear because I thought that was a really dirty thing to do.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's just kind of ludicrous. It's just really, it's not kind of, it's ludicrous. But so
Like
I thought about what I said. I was like, let me go back and clean that up just in case. I don't want anybody accusing us of doing anything we don't have any business of trying to get a case dismissed. Because at the end of the day, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a backdoor dirty trick. I didn't agree with it when it happened, and
It's a very low blow.
I think so. I think so as well. It's reaching, which
absolutely.
also kind of indicates that plaintiff's attorney had a really good, solid, strong case, and defense attorney.
That sounds like a Hail Mary to me.
Yeah,
He
defense
saw where
attorney.
he was
Yeah,
going.
defense attorney was like, I got to try to salvage what I can, and exactly what you said, called a Hail Mary.
Dude, that's so dirty. And that's something we'll have to discuss on another episode.
Yeah.
Is marketing and advertising of law firms and maybe some great.
Look at that. We got 2 more episodes to do just out of this one.
Woo! That's right. That's right. I'll have to go back and reference myself on this.
Yeah.
Oh man, I almost forgot what I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It had to do with being in court. So when you have to go to trial and prove negligence, Could you clarify why proving negligence is more complex than what it seems, or at least what it would seem to the individual, like somebody like me who wouldn't know any better?
Yeah. Well, to the normal individual, they may not know that there's elements to negligence. A normal person going into court may just say, they hit me, look, they're at fault. That's it. And they just stop right there. But there's a process that you go throughout. They got to have a duty. Did they breach that duty? Did they cause the injuries? Were they the proximate cause of those injuries? And then were there damages? So you have to mark off all 4 of those before you're able to, I guess, win a case.
That is a
That
superb
was a hell of an answer.
plaintiff's attorney right there, ladies and gentlemen. You have just made people who listen to this, who will listen to this, just that much more wiser. That's great. I'm very proud of you, Sean.
If you are injured in an accident due to due to no fault of your own, please call 601-202-1111. Ask for Sean Chun, Daryl Porter, Cherie Prince, Everett Pepper. Please.
Yeah.
If you're injured, there's no shameless plugs for us.
There you go. No shameless plugs, and hey, listen.
Shameful plugs.
You just had an attorney just give you the
Torts
the
101.
element, yeah, torts 101, the elements of negligence, which in our world are essential. You gotta meet all your elements, because if not, they'll be trying to file a motion for what is it after you put on your case in chief? Directed verdict.
Yeah.
Basically, have a directed verdict, say you didn't meet your burden, and so you gotta. That's important for us, and that's part of being in the middle of trial, and so, yeah. Good job, Sean. I'm proud of you. Not that I ever doubted him, not once, but
Learn
just
something studying for the bar.
Yeah, that's right. Just you hear a young attorney that just quotes the elements of negligence right off the bat. I don't know, particularly one that's been working with you for basically almost his entire law school career. Just, I don't know, make me feel like a proud papa.
You quizzed me on that the first week here, and I said
That's
I'm never
exactly
forgetting
right.
it after
That's
that.
exactly right. What's the elements of negligence? All right.
He was on it though.
Oh yeah, he got it now. He got it now.
I felt like I was reading it straight from the book, to be honest with you. It's good. I got another one for you. So a lot of people are skeptical about lawyers working on contingency fees, and we work on a contingency fee here at Pepper and Odom. And to the folks at home that don't know, it means that unless we win, we don't get paid, or you don't pay anything, essentially. So the rule of thumb is we don't get paid, or you don't pay.
We don't
unless
collect.
We don't collect
Unless we collect for you.
unless we collect for you.
Another commercial line.
I like that. We'll have to. Y'all are giving me all the ideas. You're gonna put me out of a job. Why is this payment model, I guess, so to speak, so important for injury victims?
I think I don't know why people will be skeptical about that, because I think it's fair. I think it's probably one of the more fairest way for everybody to be happy. Excuse me.
I feel like it's safe.
Yeah, it's safe, it's fair, and the reason I say that is because there's no guarantees in our world.
That's right.
There's no guarantees, and I will have, and we've done this before, where we'll have a solid case. When I say solid, damages are good, liability is clear. It's a solid case, but I still have to be honest with that client and tell them that if we take this to trial, I feel really great about our chances of winning and getting a really good verdict. But I also have to tell them, because I'm a transparent attorney. I'm not trying to hide the ball from my clients. I want them to know everything about everything, because it's their case and they deserve to know. And so I have no problem telling them and looking them in the eye and saying, but this is not a guarantee. And, you could walk away with $0. Because when you go to trial, what you're doing is putting your case, putting your time, putting our money. When I say our money, because we front some of the expenses, a good bit of the expenses
That's right.
out of pocket. We put that into the hands of 12 people we've never met, ever. And they, being the finders of fact, make a decision whether or not you get paid or not. And so, you know, we don't, which is goes back to what I said earlier, is that, you know, we're invested. When we take your case and we start spending money out of pocket to get your case done, like and furthermore, again, we don't collect until we collect for you. Mm-hmm. We are invested in seeing your case through. We are invested in making sure that you get a fair and decent and a reasonable settlement for the injury that you've sustained. And so I think the contingency fee, you know, you could go if you're about to go get a divorce, a contentious divorce, and you can go pay an attorney $10,000 for that divorce, hoping that everything's gonna go your way, but it may not. You may not, and therefore you would have spent $10,000 for things not to go your way. And so in this case with us on a contingency fee, contingency basis, it's like well, you know, we're in it with you. We're in it. Mm-hmm. We're literally in it with our clients. We're going all in with you. We take your case, we're all in with you. And so much so, we start investing in your case and spending money. I mean, we could easily run up $3,000 to $4,000 on getting medical bills, doing depositions, hiring an expert witness, easily, just to get to the end. And if we would lose in front of a jury and get a defense verdict, we walk away. We walk away with that $3,000 to $4,000 in the hole in debt. The law firm, does, whereas the client just walks away, owing nothing.
So we take all the risk.
And so we take all the risk as the attorneys. We take as the law firm. We take all the risk, and like I said, we have clients all the time, you know, that you know, they want to know what's taking so long and when am I going to get paid, and I tell them quickly, hey, look, I want you to get paid.
Yeah.
I don't get paid till you get paid. Mm-hmm. And so I'm invested in, you know, making sure that, you know, you get the most out of this case, because myself as well as my law firm, we're invested in it.
Yeah, I've for sure always kind of thought about it as extra motivation almost. Not that any attorney should need any, but when you go into trial, that defense side, no matter what happens to them, they're getting a paycheck at the end of the day. They could win, they could lose, they're still getting paid. And for me, I've always found it as extra motivation. You know, you got to hunt for your food. And if you don't kill anything, you're not getting food. So I've always found it as extra motivation to just advocate even extra harder for our clients. Not to say that the defense attorneys don't put in great work, but I truly feel like it's advantageous to the client to almost put a little more fire under our butts to make us keep going and make us really make sure that we do our best job on the cases.
Yeah. I think that I like that. I like that, Sean. If you're gonna eat, you gotta hunt.
That's right.
And so, you know, when we take on a case, that's why we give 110% every single time. We don't care if it's a fender bender. We don't care if your car is flipped in the air 100 times. We're gonna give it our absolute best because, again, we've now invested in your case. We've invested time and money in your case, and again, you know, we don't get paid till you get paid. It's the holiday season. I got 2 kids, and so, hey man, I want to get paid so I can make sure I can buy. I got 3 beautiful nieces that I love dearly, and so I need to get paid so I can buy Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
That's right.
And but again, that goes back to our work ethic as well. Is that we although I realize some people want this whole microwave case, like, hey, I just want to put it in 30 seconds. I want it back,
That's
ready to
right.
go. We will take our time. Again, we want to move quickly with it, but we also want it to be correct. And so we will take our time with our cases to make sure that they're done properly, while also moving fairly quickly. I mean, we got a system here at our office that allows us. We got a great staff that allows us to move,
Rather expedient.
to move rather expedient, and turn cases around for maximum value. But I may view that tempo to be pretty good, whereas somebody who's not doing this every day, that doesn't know, hopefully they'll know now once they watch this podcast, is that my tempo may not be their tempo. My tempo for them may be, and realistically, and for me, we're in this office doing, moving really quick. And so I hope everybody loved that demonstration of tempo.
I think it makes sense to me. I like it. I'm a music guy, so I get it. But like,
Same.
That makes a lot of sense because when it's kind of similar to being at the doctor. People expect the test to be done in 2 seconds. When I had an infection in my throat not long ago, which you all know about. Because I was out.
Glad you're better.
Thank you.
This guy got married and just went missing.
Yeah.
We're like, are you okay?
Are you on your honeymoon?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I know, I'm actually sick. I was like, oh God. That sucks.
So people, I feel like that's probably a misconception too. Going back to how much time it takes, and when they don't realize is, from their perspective, they're just laying there suffering. Some of them, and they're just like, where's my money? Where's my money? Where's this gonna happen? When's this gonna happen? But they don't know that y'all have to do some pretty extraneous work at an expedient rate, and you can't, like you said, you have to be detail. You got to be detail oriented. Otherwise, if you skirt around the corner, well, they might lose some money, and in turn, they lose money on their settlement. Y'all lose money on the settlement.
That's right.
So there's actually all the incentive in the world for y'all to, get there and get their service rendered to them as fast as possible, but as accurately as possible. So there's really no sacrifice, I think, in quality. But I think for some people, they get really confused with the contingency because they're like, oh, well, that just means I'm going to have to pay all this and that at the end, and I'm still not going to get anything, which is not the case, obviously.
That's right.
But I think another common thing people get mixed up with are insurance companies. And I know we've already talked about the adjusters a little bit. But what do you think is the most common mistake that people make when it comes to talking or dealing with insurance companies after an accident?
Assuming that the insurance company has your best interest in mind.
They do not.
They're trying to save money.
Why do you think people assume that, though? Why do you think so many people assume that their insurance company is their buddy because they pay their premium every month? Because think about it, really. So many people do. They think, oh man, I pay all this money every year, and they're like, oh no, they're in my back pocket. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be a misunderstanding of what their job is. Their job, I guess in the end, it is to pay for things, but it's to save money at the same time, not give you the full value of what you deserve.
Yeah. Insurance companies don't survive by spending money. So there's just no insurance company survives or becomes as big as it is because they were saving, because they were spending money. By no means at all. And I think something else is that they become really friendly with their agent, the insurance agent. Oh, he's a great guy, wrote me a great policy. My premiums could have been this, but he helped me get them lowered. He or she get them lowered. And that's great. But when you get into a car accident, you're not dealing with that agent. You're dealing with an adjuster for that insurance company. And that's a whole different ball game, completely separate from your agent. I was actually talking to an insurance agent, an agent today. He told me he left a certain insurance company because he was getting cursed out like every single day by their clients. And he was getting cussed out because that insurance company would not cover certain things for these individuals. And so, of course, you go in there, you become friendly with your insurance agent, and something happens. The first person you're gonna go to is the person who wrote the policy for you.
That's right.
The first person you're going to, and so you want to know you want to know what the hell is going on. And so, and when they tell you something, well, this is actually what the policy says. Well, you're gonna cuss them out, or you're gonna be upset with them. But that guy's like, I had to leave this particular company because they were just not. They were either have paying the claims or not paying claims out, and therefore these people who he got insured, they were coming right back to him. And he was writing up the policies the way the company said write up the policies and whatnot. And so I think people, they get that misconception that the insurance company is their friends because one, they're invested. We are invested by paying all this money each month, each year, into something you may never need. You may never need it. But by God, I used to be, before practicing, I used to think, what a scam. I pay all this money for something that I may never need. But now that I'm doing this type of work, good Lord, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Hands down. Hands down. And so, yeah, the relationship they build with the insurance agent, and I believe the fact that we invest you invest in the insurance because you're paying all those premiums every month.
Makes sense to me. I mean, I've been going through it with my insurance agent over homeowners insurance because of some issues that they had on their back end. And my God, no, she is not my friend. Working here, I've learned, because my mom was in insurance, and that's how they act. They act like they're your buddy until.
Of course, because they're trying to sell your product.
I've been in the middle of a dental appointment, getting a crown put on, and they literally went over to the oxygen, turned it on full blast, and said, "Oh, by the way, your premium's up, so you're gonna have to fill all of this." And I was like, "What? You can't just finish?" And they're like, "Oh no, you're covered lab, so you weren't."
That's horrible.
Yeah, so I felt everything.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's up.
Yeah, that's horrible.
But
it almost sounds like a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I probably this was before I worked here.
Middle of the procedure, turn off your oxygen.
Literally,
Intentional infliction of distress.
It's something, man.
Nitrous. They give me no shots, nothing. They were like,
wow.
"There's nothing we can do. We got some stuff we can give you after." I was like, "I think I'll just take some Tylenol, I guess."
Insurance typically sometimes takes the human factor out of it, like.
Treat you like a product or
yeah, it's a number. It's trying to save money. I think in one podcast we talked about too how people the first thing insurance company will call them and just show you how they don't have your best interest at heart and they're just trying to save some money. Insurance. Somebody get into a car accident and it's clearly the other person's fault with that person's insurance company. Once they've been notified that their person caused an accident and injured somebody, they'll call the person injured and try to get it settled before they ever call an attorney. They'll offer to pay medical bills and they'll offer them, I don't know, maybe $5,000. We'll pay your medical bills plus $5,000. Well, for somebody that's in a bad financial situation or having a financial hardship, that's gold. Let's go. But realistically, the reason they're calling you and the reason they're trying to offer you that money really quickly is because they know that your case is worth them paying your medical bills, plus you probably getting an additional $20,000 as opposed to $5,000, which means that's a minimum policy of $25,000. And so, one of the biggest mistakes I think people make is talking to the insurance company. And I get it. A lot of people go ahead and talk to the insurance company because their car has been wrecked and they need a ride because they need to go to work. They need to go pick up the kids, go make they have a drive to continue doing their day-to-day activities in their routine.
And a lot of people nowadays that are out here are neurodivergent nowadays. So a lot of people, they get sucked into that routine. I know my wife does because she's ADHD. So if there's anything that throws her day, like her routine off, she's bonkers. So I know a lot of people, they just kind of lose it.
Yeah, and so, part of it is like, oh my gosh, I've been in this accident. I don't have a car for tomorrow. Oh, how am I get the kids to school? I was supposed to go pick up groceries from this. I was supposed to go
Gotta
visit
get to
Mom.
work.
I gotta get to work. Yeah. And so the first thing they do is think about their car and how they get a car or rental until their vehicle gets fixed. And then in doing so, the insurance company, they're going to record you. And they're going to start asking you about bodily injuries. And then the adrenaline may be high still from the result of the accident. And now you've told them all about I'm not hurt. There's no problem. And then 2 days later, we've seen it. Like sometimes it may take 5 days for that type of pain or for the injury to reveal itself. To an individual physically on the outside, a person may look fine, and I think we talked about this in one podcast as well. But you could have a lot of damage on the inside that you don't see. You can have a lot of damage on the inside that an X-ray doesn't catch, that a CT doesn't catch, and you may need to get an MRI to catch it, or run some other type of blood test to determine that you got some serious injuries going on in there, and you didn't realize it until later. And so I would always encourage people, don't talk to the insurance company. Call a lawyer. I know sometimes lawyers get a bad rap, but call an attorney. Let them do the heavy lifting for you as far as, dealing with the insurance company, so on and so forth.
Well, we covered who you shouldn't talk to from an insurance standpoint. But what about social media? Why is it important to not go on social media and say, I was in a wreck? No.
I've talked enough. I'll let you.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend that, especially right after. Your emotions could be all over the place. Mainly, you don't want to say anything that could be used back against you. If you're going to post a caption or anything, or just post a picture, that's admissible into evidence. They could come right back around and use that against you in some way, especially if you're not careful about your posts. So I would just recommend not doing it at all. And then you don't have to worry about them using it against you.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I agree with Sean. If you've been in an accident, give us a call, but do not post on social media.
I feel like people
just keep it off.
They get up in their feels real quick, and they got to do it. And it's always like right after they call the police, they call their mama, and then they get on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok.
I see it all the time.
Look at my wreck.
Yep.
See it all the time.
Don't do that.
Could have been a shot of a car that basically ripped in half. Oh, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
It could have been, and I understand, but don't put it on social media. Just stay off of it. Just stay off. As a matter of fact, and what I would encourage you to do, when you hire us, shameless plug. When you hire us throughout the duration of your case, stay off of social media.
That's right.
Just stay off of it.
Like Sean said, anything like the police are going to tell you if you're handcuffed in a criminal situation. Anything you say or do will be used against you.
Could be used against you in a court of law.
And
that's 100%
right.
right.
Just so happen gotta go to trial. Well, they can go on Facebook and say, "Oh, we saw you doing this and saying this."
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it where insurance company they go search they'll go search clients, social media. If the case is big enough, they'll send a private investigator to follow a client to record them. See what they're doing. You can't say that you got a fractured back.
And then you're tossing your kids up and down outside, or carrying
doing
50-pound bags, doing yard work.
You can't do that, And so, obviously, we don't encourage anybody to lie to us about their injuries. And the only thing we can ever go off of is what the client tells us is wrong, and then what the doctor says is wrong with the client. You know, we operate under the impression that if a client says their back is hurting, I'm not that person. And so if they say their back is hurting, I take them for their word. If the doctor comes back and say, hey, yeah, they got some bulging disc, which is what's causing their back to hurt, well, then there you have it.
Exactly.
But again, you can't be out at the park tossing your 4-year-old in the air.
Yeah.
And catching 4-year-old's probably pretty heavy anyway. But I mean, you shouldn't be. You know, some things you just shouldn't be doing if you're injured. And I will tell you this as a caveat: we've had some instances where people had injuries, and you know, they're the breadwinner of the house, and so we've had some instances where people, I mean, they've had to push through pain. They will hurt, but if they don't work, bills go unpaid, lights get cut off, gas gets cut off, they get evicted. And so those type of things, you know, again, understanding, you know, you got to talk to, as a client, you got to tell us these things that you're going through, so we can try to help. It's gonna be a big in this video because I just rubbed the mic. Sorry.
That's all right. As my last question, I wanted to ask you guys. I know we kind of went over like what do you think the most common misconception is, but if there was anything that you could pick out that is your one personal misconception that you know people it almost irritates you. Is there a common misconception that you'd like to try to clear up as an end-all to be-all?
I think we've definitely talked about mine when it comes to the ones that irk me a little. Really, it's the amount they think they'll get that's just unreasonable.
Unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. You know, if you've got soft tissue damage, you're not going to have $1 million. You're just not. And some people just don't want to hear that. And maybe $1 million's a bad example, but say 200,000 or something lower that's just unreasonable. People don't want to hear that. They kind of have their minds made up of a number that they just want.
They expect to get rich off of it when in reality there's sometimes, you know, like you said with soft tissue damage, the damage is there. That's not negotiable. However, what is the amount of damage or cost it's going to take for you to go to the doctor or go to the hospital and have it repaired or get the treatment you need or to fix your vehicle.
Yeah.
Because if you only have $30,000 worth of vehicle damage, and like Daryl said, if they only have $25K to pay you out, well, they only have $25K to pay you out. Daryl, you got a common misconception that you'd like to clear up?
Absolutely. Stop thinking that the insurance company is your friend. They are not your friend. They are not. The agent may be your friend, and you may feel invested in that company because you're paying those premiums on time, in full, but they are not your friend. They're just not. I got a lot of them, but I'll stay with. That's gonna be my top one right there. Is just stop thinking the insurance company is your friend. Even if you need a vehicle to get to work, to go get the kids to school, to go pick up the groceries, to go get, you know, mom, dad, uncle, brother, sister, husband, wife, to the kids, to the doctor, you need to give us a call first before you start talking to the insurance company, because that oftentimes could be really detrimental to your case. More often than not, you know, I see that, you know, we ask clients, you know, have you spoken to the insurance company? Yes. I was trying to get and then always like, I need to see if they can get me set up with a rental. I need to see if they're going to fix my car. Did you tell them anything about your injuries? Well, yeah, they did ask me something about my injuries. Okay, well, you're on a recorded line. And so, we're not going to turn down your case because you've done that, because we're good at what we do. And so, you know, we can work with it, but I can tell you it's easier if we didn't have to deal with that. If we didn't have to deal with the fact that you've given a recorded statement to the insurance company about your bodily injuries because you were concerned about your vehicle. We can help you with the vehicle thing. You know, typically property damage takes care of itself particularly when somebody else is at fault, it takes care of itself easily. In most cases, it's the bodily injury where you start talking about injuries that it'll mess up a case. And so, stop talking to the insurance companies. They're not your friend. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. Our job is to get you as much as possible.
You heard the man. On this episode of Legal Roundup, we have discussed the misconceptions of personal injury. At the bottom line, Daryl says, do not talk to the insurance company, which I'll have to agree. Do not talk to your insurance company. It's
Until you call us.
to get, construed. Call us first at 601-202-1111. Sean, Daryl, y'all got anything else you want to say before we end the show?
Yeah, just one more thing on the little pet peeve about the amount of money. Just remember, even if you have low damages, you do still have a claim. It doesn't have to be a high damage amount for you to have a claim. Now, that doesn't mean expect $1 million after every single case, but keep in mind, you do still have a claim.
Yep. I'll reiterate what he says. You got rights. If you get bumped in the parking lot of Piggly Wiggly and your neck is hurting, your back is hurting, you got a pain that was not there before that accident, you got a claim. Again, there's I think I've said this in a previous podcast. There are three things. It's like a personal injury case is like a three-legged stool. Remove any one of those legs, then it falls, and it's not a case. One of those legs it has to be somebody else's fault. The other leg is that you have to have damages, which means you've gone to a doctor, emergency room, urgent care, so forth, because your back hurts, your neck hurts, something's injured on you. And then the third leg is that there has to be money to get, which means that there's the person who injured you has insurance. And in the instance that they do not have insurance, you have some type of insurance to cover yourself. So, yeah, again, any one of those legs missing, the stool falls. You don't have a personal injury case.
Thanks for being on the show, guys. Thanks for y'all's
Always
tips.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we gave some people a lot of insights on what not to do and the things that they think are true but are actually not. And
That's
our
right.
misconceptions. Thanks for being on the show, guys. Till next time.